Hi guys, German Prepper here. I do an awful lot of research to present you with regular intel updates, and very occasionally I come across a speech or statement that, although in most cases is one-sided propaganda, reveals far more about a situation than has previously been openly admitted. Today I have one such speech for you from Jens Stoltenberg, Secretary General of NATO, delivered during the panel discussion Restoring Security and Peace at the annual meeting of the World Economic Forum, or WEF, a few days ago. You will want to hear this through, guys. NATO's position remains unchanged, and that is that Ukraine will become a member of NATO. Then, of course, the main focus now is to support Ukraine, to ensure that Ukraine wins the war and prevails as a sovereign, independent, democratic nation in Europe. And that's the reason why NATO allies, partners, are providing unprecedented military support to support Ukraine, and why I'm travelling around NATO capitals and calling on them to do even more, and why I welcome the recent announcement on more armour, more advanced air defence systems, most recently by Canada with 200 armoured vehicles, and also Poland delivering more weapons, and of course the US leading all these efforts in this, what we call the contact group of this support group for Ukraine. And as Christia just said, it is extremely important that President Putin doesn't win this war, partly because it will be a tragedy for the Ukrainians, but it will be very dangerous for all of us, because then the message to authoritarian leaders, not only to Putin, but also other authoritarian leaders, is that when they use brutal force, when they violate international law, they achieve what they want. And that will be a very bad and dangerous lesson. It will make the world more dangerous and us more vulnerable. And that's the reason why, if we want a negotiated, peaceful solution to the war in Ukraine, we need to provide military support to Ukraine. That's the only way. Weapons, they are the way to peace. And that may sound like a paradox, but the only way to have a negotiated agreement is to convince President Putin that they will not win on the battlefield. He has to sit down and negotiate. Nobody knows how this war will end. Most likely it will end around the negotiating table. What we do know is that what happens around the negotiating table is totally dependent on the strength on the battlefield. And if we want Ukraine to prevail, they need the military strength. Then let me add one more thing, and that is that we are all encouraged, inspired. We admire the Ukrainian people, the Ukrainian political leadership, the Ukrainian armed forces. At the same time, I think it's very dangerous to underestimate Russia. They have mobilized 200,000 more troops. President Putin has demonstrated a will to just sacrifice thousands and thousands of young Russian soldiers. They're now acquiring more and more weapons, reaching out to other alternative regimes, including Iran, and they are planning new offensives. So it is, as President Zelensky said, there is an urgent need. Time matters. We will meet in Ramstein, NATO allies in the US-led contact group for Ukraine, with all the many partners, and the main message there will be more support and more advanced support, heavier weapons and more modern weapons, because this is a fight for our values. It's a fight for democracy, and we just have to prove that democracy wins over tyranny and oppression. There we are then, guys, an utterly one-sided propaganda speech with a great deal to note there. I will let you draw your own conclusions on where it inevitably leaves us heading, but if you have watched my other videos, you will certainly know my mind on that already. I will never forget the quote, "Weapons, they are the way to peace." A question for you all now to end. If NATO is half the world's military power coming together to secure peace for each other, should we really be surprised when the other half of the world outside of NATO begins to come together for their own collective security in direct opposition? As always, looking forward to reading your answers. If you can, please support the channel by taking membership. It really makes a difference. And if you're able, share this video. Keep prepping, guys. Cheers for now.